WXYZ 7 is your station for bowl games New Year's Day.
If the Supreme Court has spoken and we have to adhere to the highest law in the land, and so that's understandable.
Votes need to be counted. Our parents and our grandparents fought and died in wars so that we could have that right to have that vote and have that vote counted. Shame on all of them for not allowing that to happen.
Let there be no doubt. While I strongly disagree with the court's decision, I accept it. I accept the finality of this outcome. This is America. Just as we fight hard when the stakes are high, we close ranks and come together when the contest is done.
I was not elected to serve one party, but to serve one nation. The President of the United States is the President of every single American, of every race and every background. Whether you voted for me or not, I will do my best to serve your interests.
Hello, I'm Chuck Stokes, and welcome to this very special edition of Spotlight on the News, the year 2000 in review through the eyes of 6 of my most insightful colleagues. Joining me today on Spotlight, Bill Ballinger, editor of Inside Michigan Politics, Val Clark, veteran reporter with Channel 7 Action News, Chris Christoph, the Lansing Bureau Chief for the Detroit Free Press, Lloyd Jackson, Detroit and Wayne County reporter for WJR AM News Radio, Carol Kane, Assistant National Editor of the Detroit Free Press, and Bill Johnson, editorial writer and columnist for the Detroit News. Before we talk about the election that seemed as though it would never, ever end, let's reflect back on Bill Clinton as he leaves office. Bill Ballinger, let's start with you. What type of president do you think Bill Clinton will go down as, and was his last year in office a successful year?
I think his last year was a success. I think he has to be viewed as having been a successful president in the sense that he started out to turn the economy around, and it's been a hell of a ride for 8 years. His job rating is as high as it's ever been during his presidency, and I think if he wanted to run for re-election, he would have been re-elected.
And I'm sure Gore and Bush probably were glad he couldn't run again for president.
That's right. They would have been in real trouble.
What do some of the rest of you think?
I agree a lot with what Bill just said. I think the economy was in such shambles when he first came into office. The economy has been improving ever since, and now that he's getting set to leave, the economy is starting to go down again. But I do think it is interesting that polls have shown that if the Constitution was changed and Bill Clinton was running again, he probably would have won this time again. I think that says a lot about how history will remember him, despite some of the personal foibles that we've talked about in the show many times before.
And I'm sure Bill Johnson will remind us.
I only disagree in increments. I do think that Bill Clinton was the president during the longest economic expansion in the history of the United States, and I think he deserves some credit for that, only because if the economy had gone under during his presidency, we would have blamed him for it. But I think it had begun to improve as he took office, so I'm not willing to give him total credit for it. But I think, certainly, I think you have to give him credit for that at least.
Mm-hmm. I think it shows for the first time, though, that we Americans were willing to put aside the personal behavior of the man who was leading the country to recognize the positive things he's able to do as a leader. And he did manage to maintain leadership even in some of the darkest hours. It's interesting, I've heard some of the things that he's doing in his last days, and I guess pushing through some pretty heavy-duty stuff that a lot of people are having some problems with.
Well, I think that some people will have forgiven him and will be able to go on, but a lot of people will see him as having disgraced the office and to be remembered for that, as well as being maybe the greatest communicator that we've had in modern times. They called Ronald Reagan the great communicator. I mean, this guy...
Second grade. Second grade.
No, I actually think Bill Clinton was better. They used to say, you know, we had an actor in the White House, we had 2 actors in the White House, and Bill Clinton, I think, was the better of the 2 very often. And
it would be kind of nice to see...
His ability to pull people together, his ability to convey and connect with the American public was just unparalleled. It was phenomenal.
Yeah, it'd be kind of interesting to see the 2 of them face off if history could do that some way, shape or out. Lloyd, what do you think?
Well, you know, I just think I think he did well in bringing African Americans more closer to the process of the White House, being involved in the cabinet, not just African Americans, but the whole exactly the whole spectrum, community policing, empowerment zones, things of that nature, things that really help urban cities across the country.
Did we, the media, did we perhaps learn a lesson? I mean, we went after Bill Clinton pretty hard. And when it came time for George W. Bush to run, I don't think we quite went into his closet the same way. We tried, but I think the message from the American people was, we don't want to go there, which maybe kept us in check. What do you think?
We hammered Bush pretty well on that cocaine thing. For a while, that wouldn't go away, and I was surprised when it eventually did. But I think these men have to be able to stand up to some scrutiny. You know, they run for the office. And then it's going to be up to the American people to decide what they will or won't accept.
Well, Chuck, you do raise a good. Oh, I'm sorry, Bill. You do raise a good point, though. Even let's stop and think about it. Here you had George W. 3 days before the election, and the drunk driving convictions coming out just 3 days before. It's amazing to me that this, you know, this gentleman's run for office before, and this would not have come out beforehand. It makes you wonder again what the media looks at and how much due diligence is being done. But I would say also what this whole process probably does is scare off a lot of people who might consider a career in politics, saying, do I want to go through that kind of a filter and having every single thing in my background, you know, put out there for the American public.
Chuck, one other thing I'd just say is that we can say that Bill Clinton was a very successful president in the sense the economy was robust and he would have been reelected if he had been allowed to run this year. However, how will history really look at Bill Clinton compared to, you know, Richard Nixon, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln? Where is he going to be in the panoply of presidents? I don't think he's going to rank very high. I think he'll be...
Don't think so?
No. I think he'll be in the middle strata at best.
I think there'll be an asterisk by his name and relative to the Monica Lewinsky incident. And of course, Bill Clinton...
Heavens, no.
Bill Clinton had, excuse the expression, bimbos falling out of his closet. I mean, the media didn't have to look very deeply to find them. Of course, George Bush didn't have the same kind of personal problems that Bill Clinton had on the surface.
All right, let's talk about so much with Bill Clinton. He's on his way out the door.
You're tired of him already, Chuck.
Yeah, we forget it quickly in the media. Let's talk about this election that would never seem to end. Can this country heal itself after what it's been through?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. I think the real tragedy would be if this president and Congress don't really take up the standard and do something about the voting process.
Do you think they can get anything done? I mean, I know they can, but will they get anything done?
The major thing that's been holding it back in Michigan and all the states and nationally has been that it will cost a lot of money. Relatively not a lot of money, but to, you know, I mean, if there's a few million here, a few million there, or billions, you know, now you're talking real money. It's going to cost some money to standardize and overhaul the voting system. If they can't do it now, with the public outcry the way it is, they'll never do it.
So there's perhaps a lot of pressure on them to get something done because of this whole stereotype that they wouldn't be able to get anything done because...
Sometimes when things seem most closely divided, Chuck, more gets accomplished than ever. I mean, we had a divided House of Representatives up in Lansing in 1993-94, 55-55 split. Everybody said it's going to be hopelessly torn asunder. You're never going to get anything done. They had the most productive session they ever had during the decade of the 90s. More bills passed, more significant legislation, co-speakers, everybody worked cooperatively. That can happen in Washington.
I hope that the Republicans and George Bush remember one thing. They won the election. George Bush should carry out his agenda, deliver what he promised, and Democrats be damned, if you'll forgive the expression.
Excuse me, I take issue with that.
Well, have you sat down with George W. recently to give him that advice?
I have, but I'm giving it to him now.
Bill, let me take issue with that. I think one of the biggest, I mean, taking over this job at this time, the way that George W. got in the office, he's already up against a tough road here. He's going in with a divided Senate, obviously. If he falls into the Tom DeLay, forcing him to the right side on his legislative issue, I think it's going to make it a very tough 4 years for him. And especially if when they do the final recount in Florida, they find out that Al Gore really did have enough votes there. I think it's going to be really tough for you.
Bill, hasn't the message from the country been that they want our leaders to now start governing from the center and not too far from the right and not too far from the left? Certainly, if Bill Clinton was successful at anything, he was very successful at staying right around the middle there. Sometimes he ticked off the Democrats, sometimes he ticked off the Republicans, but he never went too far to either edge.
There's no question in my mind that had Al Gore won the election We see a lot of government spending, domestic spending on the part of the Democrats, and they would not be play favor with Republicans.
You're
and
going to see a
conservatives.
lot of spending under the Bush administration, too.
Well,
and the fact is, neither of these two guys were not that far apart. You're absolutely right. And I think you're talking in increments here, whether, you know, George Bush is going to get a $1.3 trillion tax cut. I don't think so. Under any circumstance, I don't think he is, but he'll get more than,
and if you talk,
than Al Gore would have asked for.
And if you talk to some of our colleagues who covered him in Texas, as I have, everyone to the letter will tell you that George W. Bush is a moderate, and make no mistake about it, he is not a hard conservative. At least he wasn't in Texas. Now, he may change once he gets to the big house. Lloyd, let me let you get in here before we go to a commercial break. You were going to say something.
Well, all I wanted to say is that with George W. Bush, he'll have a honeymoon for a little while, I think, and they'll do what he wants done for a little while. But what I'm afraid of is that Vice President-elect Dick Cheney is going to have more to do in this administration than any other vice president has had to do in any other administration.
You're suggesting that he will be the president, so to speak, without the title?
And I think in a lot of stress and, you know, his health, you take that into consideration, and I think he's just going to have a lot to do in this administration, more so than any other vice president.
And more so than probably he should have, and then there are concerns about our ex-president Bush as well.
Yes. All right, we are going to take a commercial break. When we come back, we'll pick up on George W. Bush, some of the appointments he's already made, what you all think about that, and we'll also talk about Michigan politics. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
What price would you pay for a good night's sleep? Art Van just got that price in half during our Stearns & Foster New Year's sale. You'll save 50% on every luxurious Stearns & Foster mattress, plus get 0% interest for 2 full years. Come to Art Van now for 50% off every firmness, size, and style of quality Stearns & Foster mattress. And with Mattress Express, get free next-day delivery or your mattress is free. Now you can afford a good night's sleep with 50% off Stearns & Foster, plus get 0% interest for 2 full years. The Stearns & Foster New Year's sale is going on now at Art Van.
It's All-Star Desks New Year's weekend sale. Only Saturday, Sunday, Monday will you find half-off savings and no payments till 2002 and no money down.
At All-Star Desk?
Yes, All-Star Desk. No money down, no payments till 2002 and half-off savings.
Wow.
You said it, baby. The coolest office furniture around. All-Star Desk.
All-Star
Desk. Office furniture that makes your home work.
Embarrassed by unwanted hair? Permanent Hair Removal Centers can help. PHR Centers certified technicians using only FDA-approved lasers can remove hair anywhere on your body for any skin tone. We also offer free consultations to help you feel better about yourself. Now, with 5 locations metro-wide at Skin and Vein Centers. Come on, get lased. Stop feeling less than your best. Call 877-VIP-HAIR. Call today and get 10% off your first treatment. That's 1-877-VIP-HAIR.
When you dream, your mind takes you to a place where anything is possible. When you dream, there are no limits to what you can accomplish. And when you dream, you leave all of your troubles behind. For thousands of kids with life-threatening illnesses, sometimes a dream is all they have. Making dreams come true is what the Rainbow Connection is all about. Since 1985, we've offered support and hope to these kids and their families. Call to find out how you can support the Rainbow Connection, because it's more than just a wish.
George W. Bush will be the next president of the United States.
You said that a long time ago.
Spencer Abraham will be reelected.
That was Bill Johnson in November in our roundtable discussion, obviously reading his crystal ball, but only halfway. You were right on George W. Bush. You were wrong on Spencer Abraham.
I was close, though.
You were very close. You were close. And I will say, out of that group, you were the one who said without a doubt that it would be George W. Bush. I'm curious to know your reaction so far to the appointments that President-elect Bush has made.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed more than anything because I think he is making appointments of very intelligent people, very qualified people, a wide spectrum of people, a variety of people, and I think that's going to serve not only his administration but America very well.
Your newspaper, the Detroit News, had a headline the other day which put a question mark as to whether or not these were good appointments or it was pandering. Anybody thinks it was pandering, the appointment of Colin Powell and Condoleezza Rice and Alberto Gonzalez?
I think it was a question, it was a matter of George W. Bush trying to show his sensitivity to the diversity issue, particularly with the weakness of the Republican Party and him as a nominee in the minority community. So you put those people...
Which was a big issue. They made a big point of during the Republican
convention. You front
convention.
load the process, and you get those people out front and center, and several of those positions were very important. Secretary of State's almost your #1 appointment.
And everybody knew that one was coming anyway, but Colin Powell,
Right.
it would have been silly not to do that.
Hope to have
But
Colin Powell.
let's be honest, there are Democrats running around saying, oh, that's no big thing, you know, that you have Colin Powell, the first Secretary of State.
He would have preferred to have Colin Powell as his vice president, I believe. But since he didn't have him for that, having him as Secretary of State obviously is going to be very good. Another appointment that I think will bear well for Michigan is Andrew Card as his chief of staff. Obviously, he has strong connections here to the auto industry in Michigan. He knows, he worked for General Motors. He headed an automotive manufacturing association, so he'll be very sensitive to that, and that hopefully will help as they make these kinds of decisions.
Lloyd, is that sour grapes on Democrats' part?
I don't know if it's sour
that
grapes.
Perhaps they wish they had made the appointment as the first African American Secretary of State and National Security Advisor.
It could be, but you know, those are very important places in the administration, and it's good to have those African Americans there as first. But I think that George Bush still has to come out and deal with community people, teachers, churches, and still to re-energize the African American community. He only got 9% of the vote across nationally of the African American vote.
Policies have to be diverse as well.
I think the main thing is that no one is questioning their qualifications or credentials.
That's true. Yeah, there's a little bit of both. Trying to pick quality people, and no one has questioned them, and there's a little bit of pandering. There's a little bit of pandering. Bill Clinton pandered. I mean, that's almost expected, especially at the high-level jobs. And I really agree with you. I think the question is going to be, how does he deal with policy issues and diversity in that sense, rather than just, you know, who he picks to lead certain
And one of the
departments.
reasons why African Americans turned out in such strong force for Gore is because of the fact that George W. doesn't really have an urban agenda. I mean, what does the city of Detroit and Michigan need? Obviously money for roads and transportation and urban communities, things that Bush has not so far come out and been particularly strong on.
And these appointments are going to go over well with the African American population, with women, and with other diverse groups. But again, as you all have said, it has to be followed up with at least him addressing some of these issues, coming out and recognizing that these issues have been important to people. I think with Colin Powell, how could you go wrong? You know, that was a no-brainer.
No confirmation problems so far on the horizon. Remember the problems that Bill Clinton had with his first 2 Attorney General nominees?
These will
struck
breeze
down.
through.
These should breeze through. So far, no clouds on the horizon. I'll just say this. George W. Bush did put out an urban agenda paper very early in his campaign, but it was completely ignored. Nobody's paying attention to it, and he'll have to brush off the cobwebs and trot it out there and really make some pushes, I think, to follow up.
Will President Bush, George W., will his worst nightmare be the hardcore conservatives in the Republican Party, the Jesse Helms and
They're
the Strom
already
Thurmond?
puling and whining and moaning about their not getting any appointments so far. Now, you know, in the next few days.
Should he pay any attention to him, or should he just...
He's got to. He's got to.
The party got the, in their eyes, moderate candidate that they wanted, who won, which is what the Democrats did when they picked Bill Clinton in 1992. So that's too bad.
Well, what you say is accurate in the sense that Pat Robertson and company rode to the rescue in South Carolina, and he is, in a sense, the conservative nominee out of the 2 the Republicans had, John McCain being the other one. And yet, ironically, you get the impression that George W. Bush really wants to try and govern from the center as much as possible, and that's obviously causing problems with the people who feel they helped get him nominated and elected.
All right, let's turn towards Michigan politics. We had quite a year here, besides the presidential candidates who seemed like they were here, what, every day, Chris?
Yeah, it was like covering a gubernatorial election.
It was unbelievable. But we had some interesting races here. We had a tight congressional race between Diane Byram and Mike Rogers. We also had our first female senator elected in Debbie Stabenow. Let's take a look at this soundbite that we put together and then have all of you react coming out of that.
Some common sense to Washington.
She was a great campaigner and a great candidate.
I'm going to take some time for myself and my family. I'm going to stay pretty close to home over the holidays and just enjoy the holiday season in my family.
I will work very, very hard over the next 2 years to gain your trust.
It's kind of bad that she lost, and Mike Rogers, I think he's going to do good for us, really, I do.
I hope he serves the community well. I hope he does a good job. I wish him all the luck. I wish her all the best.
I'm going to work very, very hard to earn that trust every single day. Thank you very much.
Mike Rogers, the Republican, upsetting Diane Byram in a very, very close race. Came down to what was the final count?
111?
111 votes. And Republicans now control that congressional seat. It did belong to Debbie Stabenow, who has moved up to the U.S. Senate as a Democrat. What kind of congressman do you think Mike Rogers would be?
Well, Mike Rogers started out as a fairly conservative Republican in the Senate, and I think he ran a very centrist campaign, a kind of George W. Bush general election type campaign. The issues were not on his side. I moderated 2 debates between between Diane Byram and Mike Rogers, and he should have been on the defensive in every debate, and yet somehow he was able to turn it around by sheer force of debating skills and force of personality and become an appealing candidate and win in a district which was very difficult for him to win in, with Stabenow and Al Gore above him on the ticket.
And he spent a heck of a lot of money on the TV ads, and he had very good ads. Some people said his ads were better than Diane Byram.
I think they were better. He ran a very good media campaign. He had, I think, some of the best television ads in the state, bar none. Presidential, Senate, everything. He had some of the best television ads, and we know that media and television is the ball game anymore.
No question.
And I think that's where
I think he was the big shining star victory for the Republicans in the state this year, no question about it.
I just wish I was the bank. All the money that was spent.
No, the TV stations were the bank, and we enjoyed it very much. Thank you.
But Chuck, what this shows is, because let's face it, these folks are not everyday household names. A lot of the voters didn't really know who they were outside of their district, either one of them. But Rogers is charismatic, good-looking, excellent communicator. People didn't dislike Byram, but when they got a look at him, they said, hey, this guy looks like he might really be able to handle the job. And so I think he's certainly going to get that opportunity.
And Debbie Stabenow may have to look over her shoulder down the line. You never know.
Well,
where's Diane Byram go from here?
Well, I'm not sure, but one thing I was going to say about this race, I think it would have received even more attention nationally than it did get. I think a lot of us early on thought it would be one of the premier races in the state in terms of national attention, but because of what was going on with the Stabenow-Abraham race and the presidential here, it didn't get as much attention. But again, the money and the ads, I thought, were like the primary reason why he won this thing.
All right, let's make Bill Ballinger look like the all-knowing, omnipotent person as well. Last year, when we had this round table, 365 days ago, you made this prediction about the race between Abraham and Stabenow.
Debbie Stabenow can win this race. I think a lot depends on what happens at the top of the ticket, whoever the nominees are for president. But
so Bush wins big, it might carry.
Yeah, and of course the money factor could be important. Abraham is going to outspend her, we all know that. But I honestly think that Debbie Stabenow can win being outspent $4 or $5 million. Spencer Abraham was always a weak incumbent. He was in trouble from the beginning, and the only way he could have won was to buy it. And he almost did. He just fell short. He didn't spend as much in the last 10 days as he should have, even though he spent maybe as much, or was spent on his behalf, $16 million, the most expensive campaign by far in state history. But Debbie Stabenow did everything she needed to do. In the summer and the fall, when everybody thought she had completely dropped out of sight and the polls showed her 17 points behind, she refused to waste money then, which she knew she had to save to spend in the fall, and she matched him dollar for dollar from October 1st on. She has an electric personality. She talked to the people in her ads. Abraham ran and hid from the public, both in his ads and in person, as he had for 6 years. And he got absolutely wiped out, and I don't think you'll ever see him in public office again.
Bill Johnson, you want to react since you said that he would win?
Well, I thought he was.
What happened?
I thought he was the best candidate, but I agree with Bill. Debbie Stabenow was able to connect with the people in a way that Spencer and Abraham wasn't able to do. And that was the difference in the election, I think.
All right, we need to get to a commercial break. When we come back, we'll pick up, we'll talk about some of the business issues and anything else we can throw in. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
get a breaker. Let's move, move.
There exists a unique aircraft, flown by an elite team, more extreme than anything in the air. Introducing Detroit's Blue Thunder, the new Chopper 7. When news breaks,
breaking news now, Chopper
7 gets you to the story first with satellite mapping technology. 5 onboard cameras let you see extreme close-ups, including night vision. Plus, only Chopper 7 has Night Sun, shining the brightest light on breaking news. And twin navigation computers mean Chopper 7 is in the air when other choppers are grounded. See the new Chopper 7 only on WXYZ 7. Keep watching the skies, Detroit, because Chopper 7 flies for news.
I'm Lieutenant Governor Dick Posthumus. Recently, Michigan had a fire tragedy where the fire department responded to a call in 58 seconds. Unfortunately, they still arrived too late, and 1 adult and 2 children lost their lives. If the home had just 1 working smoke detector, it could have saved all their lives. Protect your family. Stop by any Flagstar bank and pick up a Safety First kit, or log on to flagstar.com. It could save your life.
Year-end liquidation sale. Tom Raper, Richmond, Indiana. Incredible prices on new and used motorhomes, diesel pushers, travel trailers, fifth wheels, tent campers, truck campers, cargo trailers, truck caps. Your chance to buy below cost. Tom Raper must reduce inventory, millions of dollars immediately. Call 1-800-RAPER-RV. Gigantic showroom, huge parts store.
Sale ends December 31st.
Save today, Tom Raper.
Call 1-800-RAPER-RV.
Click it or ticket screen test. Let's go.
Click it or ticket. A new law.
Click it.
Next.
Hey. Click it. Click it or ticket. Click it or ticket. Oh.
Hello.
Ticket.
Click it or ticket. It's a new law you can live with.
Thank you.
Click it or ticket. It's a new law you can live with.
All right, let's talk about the Michigan legislature. We have a change of leadership there, both on the House side and the Senate side. Chris, what's your reaction? What do you think?
Change of leadership, but the Republicans still control the show. They still have a Republican governor, and...
Well, I don't mean in terms of party, but I mean in terms of the change of people.
Well, you have change of people because this is where term limits is coming home to roost. And you have a new speaker, Rick Johnson, and if you look at Rick Johnson's temperament, his style, and compare it to Chuck Perricone, who was... I can't remember a speaker who was as universally disliked
as Chuck
Perricone was, even toward the middle of his tenure.
So Rick
they were
Johnson's
looking for someone who was
a
little more of a personable person, consensus builder, and there's a real contrast between the two, and I think that his own caucus was looking for that. So you'll see a little different style.
On the House side, Kwame Kilpatrick.
Kwame Kilpatrick, on the Democratic side, another very personable guy who's able to go across the aisle and help reach consensus. He was used to do that in this past session quite often. So I think you may see a little more amiable style within the House of Representatives.
Yeah, Mike Hanley, the Democratic leader of the last 2 years, did not have a good relationship at all with Chuck Perricone, and Kwame Kilpatrick has a very good relationship from all appearances with both Rick Johnson and with the floor leader for the Republicans, Bruce Patterson. They all get along real well, at least at this point.
Val and Lloyd, the last session, there was not a good relationship between this legislature and the leaders of the city of Detroit. Do you sense that that needs to change and will change with Kwame Kilpatrick leading on the House side now, being from Detroit, young, aggressive?
I think so, and I know the mayor is poised to go up there the first of the year and present some bills up there to try to get some things happening in the city of Detroit, and I think that's because Kwame is there and he thinks Kwame can help him do some things.
Yeah, but remember, it's still going to be John Engler and Rick Johnson and Dan DeGrow that he's going to have to be dealing with. Kwame Kilpatrick, in a minority, is not going to be calling the shots. He can help, but that's all.
But John Engler is still somewhat lame duck governor.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean, Chuck, he ain't running the show up there, let me tell you. He's
we'll
still
see
strong.
about that. Well, that's what I'm wondering. Will there be a different sense, and will some legislators stand up to him who would not have before, knowing that he's not coming back as governor again in 2 years?
I don't think as much as a lot of people think.
Well, I think he's going to be preoccupied with the national stage. I think that's what his problem is going to be. He's not going to have as much attention devoted to
because he'll be chairing the Republican
He'll be chairing
governors.
the national...
No, not the Republican.
No,
The
the
National
National Governors Association takes that over in July. He's been looking forward to doing this literally for years, to leading the governors who he sees as being really in the vanguard of developing policy and solving problems in the country, and having a Republican president and a Republican Congress, more or less, if you 50-50 in the Senate, it could be dicey there, but it's essentially a Republican Congress to push through this Republican gubernatorial agenda. He's really looking forward to doing that, and I think he's going to be spending an awful lot of time doing that in the next year.
Especially when you consider the past year, what kind of year that Governor Engler has had, which has not been exactly stellar when you look at the primary. He promised it to Bush. It didn't happen here in Michigan. In the general election, it didn't happen. He had an incumbent senator here who did not win. So I think John Engler is going to be looking for other things besides just that sort of stuff.
There are no raging major issues that we see on the horizon for the next year.
There's no question that there needs to be a better relationship, though. And again, sometimes it is just perception, unfortunately. And as far as that goes, I think that Kwame will be a good bridge builder. He comes from good stock. His mother, you know, is well respected in Lansing and in Washington. And, you know, he's really come along. He really has. And so, you know, we need a couple of folks who can get in there and at least... if you're not going to get totally down to brass tacks, at least give the impression that they're trying to work towards some common goals. There has been a horrible relationship on the grassroots perception level between Lansing and Detroit.
The governor's race is 2 years away, but they're lining up already. Who do you think we'll see coming out probably this year and starting to announce that they're going to run?
Well, the big question is whether Jennifer Granholm is going to give up the attorney generalship and run for governor. And I got to tell you, I don't think that the decision is going to come as early as a lot of people think. It may not be in 2001. I think a lot of people are going to wait for reapportionment, which is going to happen at the end of the year or at the start of 2002. Remember, you don't have to start raising money as early as you used to just a few years ago. Jennifer Granholm could announce in March of 2002 she'd probably have all the money she needs in about 6 weeks. So I think there's going to be a little
I think Chris agrees with you on that one.
She's being pushed hard by her own party.
The
Republicans are convinced themselves that she is going to be the candidate. It's almost a given in many of their minds. And I'm not convinced that it is a given. But a lot of people believe it is.
To say that
you love going on the limb. Go ahead.
If Jennifer Granholm decides to seek the governorship, she will be the likely winner of the race.
Even if she's going up against Candace Miller, another woman,
she's a very attractive candidate. She keeps telling me that she's not interested in running at this time. I think she's a very attractive candidate, and she'll have appeal across the board.
Bill, I thought you were going to come out with some bold prediction. What's bold about that?
Bold about that?
That's the common wisdom. Well, the issue is if she
who
runs...
would give her a better race?
Well,
Dick Posthumous
probably Miller would,
or
but
either
either one
Miller?
of them, I don't think it makes any difference. But look, here's a wild card. Here's something you ought to think about. Feiger. As the Jesse Ventura third-party candidate.
Jeffrey Feiger,
he said he wants...
our famed criminal defense attorney.
He's done that. He's done it. Didn't work.
No. He ran as the Democratic nominee. We're talking third party now. Okay? He would siphon votes away from the Democratic nominee. He hates Jennifer Granholm. He believes she stabbed him in the back in 1998, which she did. She had to get elected. She didn't want to be yoked together with him.
And Feiger has plenty of money, could finance his own race.
Absolutely right, and he can make his decision after she files.
All right, Lord, you were trying to get something?
I think he may go for something higher than the governorship. I mean, he talks about, you know, the mayor and governor. I think he might
higher than the governorship.
For president? No, not president. I'm talking like a senator or something of that nature.
There is no higher office in Michigan than governor.
Not if Carl Levin runs again.
No, not if Carl Levin runs again.
But, Chuck, you bring up an interesting point about Candace Miller and the fact that there might be 2 women going for it.
And her name is on every Secretary of State sign across the state from the UP down.
I'd still put my money on Granholm against Candace Miller.
And she would have it probably because, again, of those things that really should not mean as much as they do. Looks, being charismatic, You know, they're both able, they're both intelligent, and they're both women. So that could be, you know, that's something interesting.
And
that
both have proven that they can be real tough campaigners.
Watch out for that Figer, Chuck. Watch out for
What
him.
about what about Dick Posthumous now, who's been sitting up there waiting, anointed?
He has none of what we've been talking
but he's
about.
likely to be the nominee.
None.
More than Miller.
Well, he's probably right now saying, looking at
cream.
He's probably looking at John Engler's
Have you seen his
coattails.
commercial?
I'm not disagreeing. We're talking about nominee.
well.
We're talking about nominee.
He's,
We're
well,
not
probably
he's
looked
going to
at
start
John
off
Engler's
with a whole
coattails
lot
and
of
saying it
money,
doesn't
and if
exist
money
anymore.
means everything, anything or everything,
I think
he might be hard to beat.
I think Dick Posthumous. I think Dick Posthumous also is going to be suffering from some of the same thing that Al Gore suffered from. There was Clinton fatigue. I think there's going to be some Engler fatigue, and he is going to be viewed as the heir apparent to John Engler's seat, and that could be a problem for him.
All right, and on that note, we need to rush to another commercial break. We'll hurry right back, and we'll talk about local politics, Detroit, Lansing, Grand Rapids, and any other city we can throw in there from Michigan. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Detroit's favorite.
I believe television can do something it's never done before.
Quality television. A tradition of family entertainment and compelling adult drama. News, information, and community service.
7 million meals for Michigan.
The people you know and trust.
Good evening, I'm Diana Lewis.
And I'm Guy Gordon, and there's
The station standing by you. WXYZ 7.
Happy New Year. I'm Jay Towers from 93.1 DRQ.
And I'm Lisa, and this is it. Today's the day. I'm making a New Year's resolution to quit smoking.
Make it your resolution, too. Call now for your free Quick Kit.
This time, I'm going to do it. And you can, too. Join us here tonight for the countdown during Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve.
So keep listening for the next month, and we'll help you on DRQ.
Call now. It's free. 1-800-537-5666. Let's quit together.
Once a year and only once a year, the Men's Warehouse has a sale. That's right, only once a year do we further reduce our everyday low prices an additional 20 to 40%. Of course, one sale a year may not seem like a lot, but if it's a sale as big as this one, well, once is enough.
It takes a Men's Warehouse sale to beat a Men's Warehouse price.
You're gonna like the way you look. I guarantee it.
Pay nothing for 1 full year at Furniture Express. No interest, no payments, no down payments, no sales tax, no nothing during the Furniture Express New Year's celebration. Spend as little as $399 to get it. No interest, no payments, no down payments, no sales tax, no nothing for 1 full year and guaranteed next day delivery for nothing. The New Year's celebration now at Furniture Express.
Furniture Express. When it comes to furniture, nobody delivers a better value.
Some businesses might need as much as 6 to 8 months to close down and to relocate.
The cost is projected by some to be well over the $250 million cap. The way it's going right now, I'm not sure if we'll ever have casinos on the East River.
Last year, this time, there were 2 casinos operating in the city of Detroit. There are now 3 casinos. None of them are on the river, but they're all doing pretty well. Lloyd Jackson, the mayor keeps talking about wanting to put those casinos on the river, some of the most prime land in this city. It's been controversial. Nick Hood says there's a good chance that that will never happen. Kay Everett on the city council says she doesn't think it will ever happen. What do you think?
Well, the mayor is determined to do it. He's determined to assemble this land. He asked for the extension. He got the extension. He says the extension is not for negotiations. The extension was...
But is he stalling because he really thinks he can get it done, or you think he's stalling because he can't get it done and he's buying time, hoping that he can
I think he can get it done. He just has some holdouts, and I think he's ready to deal with that. But I also think it's a money situation. He talks about that, $1.2 billion where they are now as far as the money that they're generating, $1.5 billion on the river, and he says, you know, nobody's going to write a check and say, I'll give you that money while they sit where they are. We want the money.
Is that where they should go?
Absolutely not.
No, I don't.
Absolutely, they shouldn't go there. As a matter of fact, I think it cost something like $350 million to acquire this land, and the casino owners have said that they would not go above that. It seems like the mayor has already exceeded that amount now. So the casino operators won't go along with it, but it shouldn't go there anyway. I mean, much of the business community is against it. Most of the citizens of Detroit are against it. And why Dennis Archer would try to force feed this development on the river is beyond explanation.
If he were here, I think he would say he's trying to do it because no one has done anything with that river up to now, and the casinos have the wherewithal and the money to be able to do it, and everybody else is talking about how it's great prime land, but no one else has done anything. So finally he has casinos saying, look, we'll build something there, we'll put hotels there.
Because
we have a Super Bowl coming in 2006. What are the rest of them?
Only because he said they must. It's not their idea. The casino operators prefer not to build them.
Well, especially Greektown, they just opened up and they have the best location in town.
And Chuck, right now the problem is going to be, you know, accumulating the land that they would need for it. It's not going to happen. They're not going to be on the riverfront. Motor City already has the land around it to build a hotel. Greektown has the Athenaeum across the street. The only one that really would prefer to have a movement somewhere where they could build a hotel would be MGM Grand because of their location. They're buttressed in on the freeway in a parking lot. However, when they came out with their financial statements, that Detroit casino was the most profitable in the MGM empire, so I'm not sure how anxious they are either to build another facility somewhere.
Val, I'm curious to know, because you're out on the street all the time, you have a good sense of what the people, particularly the people who live and work in the city of Detroit, feel. Do you think there's a sense that the mayor is spending too much time on these big-ticket items and not doing the things that he was elected to do, and that was improve city services?
Well, and that is always the classic
complaint. Not your own personal opinion, but you know, what do you think the sense of the people is? Right?
You know, there is a lot of disillusionment with Dennis Archer. A lot of people, although they may respect him, I'm talking again about grassroots people in the neighborhood, and again, we always have downtown versus the neighborhoods. It's nothing new. We had it with Coleman Young. Yet because, you know, there's a thought, and a good one, that you need to build up downtown, but not at the expense of the neighborhoods. And a lot of folks feel that Mr. Archer has kind of lost touch, or maybe never really connected with the grassroots and the neighborhoods. And so there, you know, there's some dissatisfaction there, no question.
Chris and Bill Ballinger, is there anything that Mayor Archer can perhaps learn or should be doing that maybe Mayor Hollister in Lansing has done, who has become very, very popular and very successful down there? He's a Democrat as well, but he hasn't taken the approach of putting casinos in his city.
Well, he also has a very different city to deal with. He has a city that's not financially racked continually. It hasn't been on a 20, 30-year decline like Detroit has. I mean, in a lot of ways, Lansing is almost recession-proof because in the area you have state government and the amount of employment that implies. You have a huge auto industry, which tends to be understated.
And Oldsmobile, which is getting ready to leave.
And Michigan State University. So, you know, he has a fairly relatively thriving city. He has, however, you know, as a mayor, been able to assemble a lot of consensus and popularity. So, and he's been very effective.
David Hollister has a different background than Dennis Archer. I mean, he came up through the County Board of Commissioners and state government for years. He had a real infrastructure politically in the community, which Dennis Archer really didn't. Remember, Dennis Archer is actually from Cassopolis. And there was always a suspicion that he was some kind of an outlander who came in and with the help of a lot of white money in the suburbs was able to get elected mayor. That sure as heck isn't the profile David Hollister has up in Lansing. So there's a real problem. Secondly, David Hollister has some real political skills that he's built up over the years, which I think Dennis Archer lacks. I mean, he may be a guy that you can respect and he means well and all this sort of thing, but he has a tin ear, no question about it, when it comes to dealing with Lansing, to dealing with some of his own constituents in the city of Detroit. He'll never get any better. It's obvious by now, after 8 years, it ain't getting any better. And the only question is there anybody around who could beat him? I don't think so.
And that's a perfect segue for us to talk about the fact that next year is a mayoral year in the city of Detroit. Right. Do you think Dennis Archer will run again? And if he doesn't, who else may be in there who might be the next mayor? Or if he's in there, who's going to take him on? We've already had two people that have announced already, Bill Brooks and Charlie Beckham.
I think Dennis Archer will run again. The question is, should he? And that's a totally different...
Well, what do you think, Mr. Editorial Writer?
I think Dennis Archer, as Bill pointed out, he has a lot of deficiencies, management deficiencies. He has a lot of political deficiencies. He's not the best politician. He's not the best manager. Whether or not he would be good for the city for another 4 years is questionable. But I do agree that it all depends on who runs against him. Compared to who? Now, that's going to be the question the Detroiters will have to answer.
But he certainly will have to answer for a police department that has some problems, a fire department that has some problems, right, Lloyd?
That's right, and I think people like Gil Hill, if you want to talk about somebody who could run, I don't think he will. Yeah, I don't think he would, but he's one person who I think run. But I also say that if the mayor runs in this election, he has to run this time. He has to run.
Yeah,
as opposed
money
to
alone won't do it. Having
won't do it.
$3 million
award.
No.
You mean if he doesn't run, anybody could beat him?
I don't think anybody could beat him, but
well,
I think
who can beat him other than Gil Hill? That's the real question.
Can Nick Hood beat him? He's hinting that he's going to run.
I think, going back to your earlier question about Dennis Archer, I'm not sure he's decided what he's going to do. From people I know who've talked to him say he's still deciding this. But I think what's interesting, he's got two things on his mind probably right about now, and that is this. He has had very strong support in the past from the corporate community and the grassroots labor community. Those are the two communities he's having problems with today. I'm sure he knows that. He's got to be contemplating this, and as he sits down tomorrow, which is his birthday, by the way, I'm sure he's going to be looking at this and trying to make this decision of whether or not to run again.
We'll be right back. Stay with us. We'll talk about the auto industry, which is near and dear to Michigan and the city of Detroit, and some of the problems that we've had with Chrysler and Ford and Firestone and all of those other things. We'll be right back.
As America welcomes the first president of the new millennium, you can own the complete United States Presidential Coin Series. For the first time ever, a series of coins has been released honoring each of the U.S. presidents on a genuine $5 coin. Most of these presidents have never been seen on an official coin before, so this may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Each coin is meticulously detailed, bearing the president's image, and features the dates of their term. Each coin in the series has been authorized by the government of Liberia and minted in the United States. Each coin is delivered encased in collector-preferred, uncirculated condition and comes with certificate of authenticity. Demand for these coins is tremendous, but now, for a limited time only, you can start your collection with the first 4 presidential $5 coins in the series for only $19.99. Act now on this exclusive TV offer, and we'll include this presidential archive album. You can protect and preserve your coins as you enjoy collecting each and every coin in this exciting series. You'll also receive this fact-filled book with fascinating information about the men who held our nation's highest honor. But that's not all. The Mint is prepared to strike the coin bearing the new president's image the instant election returns are in. And if you order within the next 15 minutes, we'll include this rare coin absolutely free. Each coin is meticulously detailed, bearing the president's image, and features the dates of their term. Most of these presidents have never been seen on an official coin before, so this may be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. At the end of this edition, these one-time-only coins will never be minted again. You can own the complete United States Presidential Coin Series, so don't miss out. Order today. Be sure to ask your operator how you can subscribe to the entire collection, issued at 4 coins per month at this same incredible introductory price. Each set of 4 $5 coins will be shipped every 30 days until your collection is complete.
Have your credit card ready and call this toll-free number, or send your check or money order to this address to begin your collection of presidential coins for only $19.99, plus shipping and handling.
If you don't clean up your room, the Board of Health is going to condemn it. You make that face again, it's going to freeze that way. If you don't get your blood pressure checked, you could have high blood pressure and not know it and die from a stroke.
Hello, I'm Jack Nasser, President and CEO of Ford Motor Company. I'm here at our Tire Operations Center with an update on the Firestone safety recall and what Ford is doing to assist. To date, over 1 million tires have been replaced. And that's good progress, but it's not good enough.
And I just can tell you, from all I learned so far, if we are making the right decisions, if we are heading towards the right direction, the people in this company will go through fire with us. I'm absolutely sure about that.
Ford executive Jack Nasser, obviously not Lee Iacocca doing commercials, and Dieter Zetsche from Daimler Chrysler, giving his prediction on the future of Daimler Chrysler, which has had a lot of problems. Carol, two huge stories this year. Where does this leave Michigan, a state that lives and dies on the auto industry?
Well, under the Bill Clinton years, the state economy has done well, including the automotive economy. As we're starting the new year here, I think the auto industry is going to have some bumps this year. Obviously, two huge stories are going to be Chrysler, Daimler Chrysler. 2 years ago, when they merged, it was, you know, billed as it was a merger of equals. We find out it was an acquisition, which is what it always was. They have some real problems at Chrysler right now. They lost $1.2 billion in the fourth quarter of this year. There's going to be some restructuring and some likely layoffs and possible plant closings. They have 12 plants in North America. On the Ford front, the Explorer SUV, which for the first part of this year is all practically what we wrote about on the front page of most papers, and all the deaths, 148 deaths, 500 injuries, that's going to continue to just dominate news as we go through the early part of this year. The National Highway Transport Safety Administration is going to be issuing a report probably in March talking about the Firestone Explorer tire situation, who was responsible for this, and watch for a lot of lawsuits to come out of that.
If the auto industry catches a cold, does that mean pneumonia for the city of Detroit, which has been talking about trying to bounce back and become a world-class city, but certainly cannot stand any type of recession?
You say city of Detroit, you mean Metro Detroit, the whole area?
I mean the whole area, yeah.
And don't forget gas prices. I mean, will we have an energy problem like George W. Bush is already talking about? If you do, that could spell real problems with the auto industry, especially now that we, as a culture, are buying trucks and cars with the lowest per mile gasoline ratings that we've had in 20 years or more. You know, so that could be a real serious problem.
Are any of you surprised that the UAW has not reacted in a more strident way to all of this than they have thus far?
It's heartbreaking, it's devastating, and it's going to trickle down, and people are going to be angry, and they are going to stop buying that product.
And when we start having more layoffs from Daimler Chrysler, which is going to happen, I think that'll be obviously the end result of what happened 2 years ago. But Chuck, we ran a letter to an editor from a 63-year-old auto writer or auto worker who had sent us a letter basically saying that Bob Eaton, how could he sleep at night? He sold the company out. And obviously that might be a little harsh, but I think it's pretty obvious that Bob Eaton and other Chrysler top brass at the time obviously took care of themselves and their families and left a whole lot of people out there out to fend for themselves.
Right. But this is kind of ex post facto hand-wringing, Chuck. I mean, to answer your question, why haven't the auto unions said something? And is it because they realize they're powerless? They can't do anything against the Germans.
Yeah, I mean, in fairness to Doug Frazier, I don't think years ago he saw this coming. But Steve Yokich, this is his watch. And I don't think that there's been a real strong reaction from the current UAW the way some people would like them to be reacting. And maybe they don't have the power to be able to react, or maybe they feel this might be for good in the long run. I don't know.
But the horse is already out of the barn. So for them to react now, you know, they perhaps should have stepped forward.
Well, there could be some fears that it would just make the matter worse.
That's true.
Also.
All right, in the amount of time we have left, let's give our picks for Newsmaker of the Year. I'll start it off, since a lot of times I let you all go first, and then sometimes I run out of time and I get out of it. I personally go with the same person that our station picked this year, and that's Debbie Stabenow, who was Congresswoman from this area, now the first female senator from this state, has had a long, illustrious career, had defeat at one point when she ran for governor, didn't win, lost in the primary, but didn't call it quits and bounced back and took on an incumbent and won. All right, so that's our pick.
You mean Bill? That's your pick?
That's my pick. It's my pick and it's the station's pick, and we happen to agree this year.
Okay, I'm going to pick John McCain. His victory in the February presidential primary was the biggest political upset shocker of the year in Michigan. And at the end of the year, John McCain is the most popular politician in Michigan. He's got higher ratings than Bill Clinton, Al Gore, George W. Bush, Debbie Stabenow, John Engler, you name it.
All right, Val?
Okay, but is this this Newsmaker of the Year, that's not necessarily local or Michigan?
Well, apparently it isn't now.
Well,
Open it up now. any state you want.
As much as it pains me, I have to give it to George W. Listen, I mean, to knock this presidency, this roller coaster ride, to knock it off as the top news story of the decade, I'm afraid it would take something catastrophic.
Time Magazine agrees
he's earned
with you.
it.
Time Magazine agrees with you.
All right. I would rather keep it local, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to say the newsmaker of the year is anybody who voted. Because this year it became apparent that it counts more than ever, and it really does make a difference more than ever. And we finally learned that. So anybody who voted,
except
and half
in Florida.
Well, they learned a lesson there too. Half of you didn't vote, and half of you did. So if you did, you're newsmaker
So half
of the
the
year.
population are winners.
All right.
That's right.
Lloyd Jackson?
Debbie Stabenow, because she came back, she was down. She
You are a
came back.
wise man.
She was my pick. You know, I talked to her through the campaign, and, you know, she was down. She came up, she came back, spent a lot of money. Both spent a lot of money, but I call it my newsmaker of the year, definitely.
All right. Lloyd's on my side. Carol Kane?
I hate to say this, but I'm on both your sides as well as George Magazine. I'm picking Debbie Stabenow on this one. She was down 20 points 2 weeks out. She was outspent. There was an incumbent senator with no hint of scandal or anything, and she still managed to defeat all those odds and win the Senate race, so I gave it to Debbie Stabenow.
All right, I have a funny feeling this is where Stabenow is.
Don't tell me Bill's going to agree with me. Oh, no.
You are a seer. I'm going to follow the lead of Time Magazine. I don't think there's any question about it. George W.
How about Val?
I was going to say,
Val.
you can't agree with me. You can't say that publicly now.
And on that note, we are all out of time. We didn't have time to talk about sports. Only question that remains is, will the Michigan State Spartans be able to repeat as basketball champions?
I say yes.
All right, Chris Christoph says yes.
Like
and we want to thank all of you at home for joining us. Happy New Year, and we'll be back next year to begin our 37th season of Spotlight on the News. I'm Chuck Stokes. Thank you, Bill Ballinger, Val Clark, Chris Christoph, Lloyd Jackson, Carol Kane, and Bill Johnson. Have a great New Year. Have a good week.
Later today, for the most up-to-date information, watch Action News Sunday at 6 and 11 on 7. Attention Medicare HMO members who will lose their coverage effective January 1st, 2001. Medicare and Medicare supplements typically don't cover most outpatient prescription drugs. If you are losing your current prescription drug coverage, get the People's Prescription Plan now. You'll save money right on the spot with no claim forms. Plus, you can save on eyewear, hearing aids, and more, all at over 50,000 locations nationwide. Just $7.95 a month covers your whole household with no limits on use, so it could more than pay for itself the very first time you use it. As a special offer, when you call now, you'll pay just $2.95 for the first month, a savings of $5 off the regular price.
Delivery and layaway. All of this with no interest until 2002. Happy holidays to you and yours from Crown Furniture on Gratiot, just north of Metro Parkway.
Racing to answer your tech questions. The Screensaver. Weeknights at 9 Eastern, 6 Pacific.
High school students, college students, this message is for you. Just think, you can go to college virtually tuition-free by being a member of the Michigan National Guard. The Michigan National Guard now has a 50% education reimbursement program of up to $2,000 per academic year at accredited colleges in Michigan. In addition to the education reimbursement program, the Michigan National Guard has tuition grant programs at selected universities. For more information, call 1-800-2-GO-ENG or 1-800-GO-GUARD.